All right, we are live for another day of politics. Let me get Rumble up and running. Kick should be good to go, hopefully. Whenever that decides to work, we got Nick, Shirley, a Moose on the Loose video, and then eventually question period at 2 p.m. Pretty basic, pretty usual schedule for the most part today. Uh, we'll see if I lose my mind again by the end of today's question period, like I did last time. All in good fun though, obviously. All in good fun. Let me just get the YouTube chat up here and I'll get this running.
Do you think people will be going to prison for the fraud that's been committed in these states?
I think so. Yeah.
So to get that correct, in a place like California and Minnesota, illegal migrants were getting Medicaid for completely free.
Yes. There are billions of dollars of fraud that go out to criminal organizations. Foreign adversaries have specialized in committing different types of Medicare fraud.
And what have you guys seen so far from a state like Minnesota where a politician could be imprisoned? This is a super important interview between me and Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill of the HHS, which stands for Health and Human Services. They're one of the departments within the federal government that are hoping to crack down on this fraud, and they've even gone to expose it in locations like Minnesota and in California as well. In this video, we'll be speaking about the fraud that's been taking place specifically in areas like Minnesota, as money from the federal government has gone to the state and it has been defrauded from the American taxpayer. We'll be speaking about that and potential prosecutions that will be taking place within the fraudsters and the politicians who've been enabling this fraud to happen. And right now on my website at shirleydefense.com, we have released new hoodies, support independent journalism, as we know that mainstream media has just completely failed the American people. So go ahead and show people where you stand. You can go ahead and get it in black, and you can also go ahead and get it in gray as well. We still have the quality leering t-shirts and hoodies available as well. Remember, that's at
I gotta get one of those. I gotta get one. They're a bit pricey, and the US to Canadian dollar is not very good right now. The exchange rate is awful. So it would be even more expensive. But I feel like at some point I gotta get one. Maybe I can get a custom one made myself for cheaper, just to get the point across, and I'll wear it for a couple streams, or I'll hang it up behind me or something. Maybe I'll get a flag. I'll get a giant flag and I'll replace that one. I had the giant JD Vance meme flag, so maybe I'll get a Quality Leering Center flag. We'll have to see.
shirleydefense.com. The link is also in the description down below. And now let's get into the interview. We're here in Washington, D.C. We're with Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill. Lots of fraud is happening here in the United States. You guys at the HHS, Health and Human Services, have been cracking down on this fraud. When I first originally posted the YouTube video, I just thought it was going to be a YouTube video. I post it. Next day, I didn't know who you were. I see your face pop up on X, and you say you're freezing over $185 million to childcare in Minnesota. What has this crackdown on fraud been like for you guys?
Taxpayers spend a lot of money on healthcare and welfare in America. They're very generous, and this department administers a lot of it, including Medicaid and child care, and has a responsibility for ensuring there's integrity. The status quo was just a trust that states would make sure that none of it was spent on fraud. Status quo is obviously not good enough. So we've been asserting all of our responsibilities and enforcing that states are really doing their jobs, and that's been escalating over the past few months, partly thanks to you.
And so I go ahead and post this video. I go to the daycares, I show the locations, and then you guys freeze the funding. What made you guys have enough sufficient evidence that fraud was happening to the point where you guys decided to freeze childcare?
So we're absolutely committed to funding all the deserving recipients that actually fit into the definition of the program and none of the fraud. What we did that week was we just asked for receipts. We said, states, when you're submitting us a bill, just give us a little proof, give us some evidence that it's real and legitimate. And you might have seen last week, 5 states actually sued us and said, no, We don't want to answer your questions. We don't want to send receipts. We don't want to show evidence. So far, court said to freeze that part of it, the demand for receipts, which we're going to comply with the court while we appeal, but we're moving forward in other ways. We're going to be sure that no money goes to fraud.
So has a single daycare in Minnesota been able to prove that they are a legitimate business to receive the funding that you guys froze?
We're not talking to the so-called daycares directly. We are asking the state to submit proof, and we are still waiting for proof.
So to this point, so far, the state has not provided any proof of legitimacy for these daycares.
Not only that, they're generally refusing to answer questions. So for one example, on the Medicaid side, Dr. Oz sent Governor Walz a letter at the beginning of December saying, please just send us a corrective action plan for how you're going to change your policies and stop fraud on Medicaid. The state waited to the last day of December and submitted a comical 5-page joke of a corrective action plan. And we wrote back and said, that's obviously not good enough. We need a real corrective action plan. They then asked for a hearing, which of course they'll get their hearing. They're really dragging their feet on reform on Medicaid. On childcare, it's broadly similar. In fact, the Biden HHS, believe it or not, put in regulations making it harder for states to enforce proof of like attendance records for childcare. We're repealing those regulations and demanding hard evidence from states on childcare.
It's kind of strange that the governor, for instance, Tim Walz, and his government, essentially inside Minnesota, they will not even comply with the federal government when you guys are simply just asking, we just want to know where these funds are going. They couldn't come up with a single plan or anything for you guys.
That's right. They really seem to not really want us to ask questions. So I was in Minneapolis last week. I met with the Medicaid officials. Of course, they said all the right things. They said they care about fraud. Then I met with some whistleblowers, some legislators, some auditors, some former employees. The message I got there was very different. It was the instructions in the state government are not to ask questions, not to really do site visits, especially not surprise site visits. State literally decided not to go knock on these doors. Luckily, you did.
Yeah, because what I did in my videos, I did not know what to expect. I had David the man with me in that video. He said, Nick, I've never seen a single child at any of these daycares. And so what I did is I just went and knocked on the daycares to see what was happening. For instance, there was one called Mako Childcare, and they had received over $1 million. And so I went and tried to open the door to go talk to whoever was in the reception. It was closed. Windows were blacked out. Doorbell didn't work. And above me, it said open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. They obviously weren't a legitimate business. And
Yeah, I saw that. Bill Blair and Nate Erskine Smith. 2 more by-elections coming up for the Liberals. What is it, 3 or 4 now? At least. The longer Carney holds this out, it's going to be kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't think they're stepping down, so I think they're still going to hold their seats for now. It's kind of scummy and ridiculous, but it's the Liberal Party, so I don't expect anything different.
And so it's been interesting to see the backlash from people, and now to see that Tim Walz and his government will not even comply with the federal government.
We're going to insist. We are doing investigations. We are doing prosecutions. We are ramping up the pressure. We are exploring every bit of legal authority that we have to ensure that there's no fraud in Minnesota and other states. In some cases, we have to give the state notice, and then we can crack down. We're doing that. We're giving the notice. We're sending the proper letters. We have more reforms that we'll be announcing in the next week. But it's really our responsibility as stewards of taxpayer money to do the work that the state is refusing to do.
And how come it had gotten to the point where there wasn't that much oversight as to where the money was getting spent? Because from my understanding is you guys give the money to the state and then they then spend the money.
Yes.
Distribute the money. How come there wasn't much oversight in a place like Minnesota?
So I think the status quo assumption was state officials are elected or appointed by their own taxpayers. A lot of these programs are state programs. States are supposed to be in charge of that. And the federal government is supposed to have a little bit of program integrity, but it's really been considered a state responsibility. And And really, that's kind of the way the American system has worked. Like, one of the strengths of our social capital in America is high trust, transparency, open books, data available to the public, processes that everyone can see and follow, rules that are clear to everyone. That's broken down from time to time in American history. We've had like political machines in big cities, often involving like a unassimilated immigrant group that gets kind of co-opted by a political party or a faction of a political party, and ends up with a whole complicated but stable system of like public money being steered into fraud, and voting blocks like cooperating with the fraud and voting for certain politicians. And it really looks like we have exactly that situation in Minnesota. It's been obviously going on for a few years.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time. I had originally went to Minnesota in June to make a video about the demographic shift within the Somali population, how Christian churches were turning into mosques, and people started telling me about the fraud. I even had people set up for me to interview, and when it came down to the interview, they all backed out because they were too afraid to talk about the fraud. And so when 89% of the fraud that has been charged and people have been found guilty in Minnesota have been by Somalians, the Minnesotans were afraid to speak out against the fraud. And I think that's kind of why it was able to happen for so long, because we saw what happened. Tim Waltz started calling me a white supremacist on live TV for talking about the fraud. But at the end of the day, do you think that the politicians were able to then use, for instance, the Somalians in this case, to then create all the fraud and to be scared to call it out for what it is?
Yeah, I do. It seems like people have built whole careers, whole lifestyles around a completely fake part of the economy. Their whole way of life would crumble if people ask questions. So one thing that's striking about your videos, it's not just that you knocked on the door and they didn't have a lot of kids in their so-called daycare. It's also how angry and hostile they were. They really did not, want to answer any questions.
And do you feel like
They didn't strike you as the kind of people that should be running a daycare just based on how they act towards other people, asking a few questions, very basic questions?
federal government had taken fraud serious to the point before I uploaded that video? Or do you think, how come you think from my video there's such a big ripple effect across the nation?
We were starting to focus on Minnesota on the Medicaid side in November, but you definitely showed that Minnesota was a particularly bad area on childcare as well as Medicaid. So you made a big difference.
So essentially you guys give that fund to the states and then you just have trust in the states that they're going to distribute that money.
Well, the classic model that the U.S. government's operated on in general is like pay and chase. Like when the state asks for money, you just send it and maybe you investigate later if there's accusations. But it's hard to claw money back. The minute we send it to Minnesota, Minnesota sends it to these largely fake grantees. It's probably overseas within a few days. That's going to be impossible to get back. So while it's good that we're doing investigations and prosecutions and holding everyone accountable we can, the bigger savings are going to come from just not sending money out the door in the first place until we're sure that the states have a handle on the situation, are not corrupted, and are sending it to real people who actually deserve it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are doing something very common, with a lot of common sense to say, we want the proof, but now these states are suing you guys. You have states,
right.
Is it California, New York, Illinois, Minnesota, and Colorado?
That's right.
Are all suing you guys?
Yeah, all 5 of those states sued us. All we were asking for was a little bit of evidence. We were still sending out the money after they sent the evidence, but all we did was say, send us evidence, then we'll send you the money. Instead of sending the evidence, either they didn't have it or they didn't want to share it or it was fake or whatever. They sued us instead. They sued us basically to say, don't even ask questions. It's none of your business. Just give us the money. And that's what one judge in New York agreed with them on. Of course, we're fighting back in court and pursuing all of our other authorities to ensure that no money goes to fraud in the first place.
So it's obvious that these states have been enabling fraud. They freak out when you guys tell them.
Well, that's how it looks. That's how it looks.
I'll say allegedly. It's
okay.
Allegedly proof that allegedly they're committing lots of fraud inside of these states.
Yeah.
and they get very upset with you guys for just asking for proof of legitimacy when it comes down to showing that the money is being spent well. How can people inside of these states have trust that when they pay their taxes to the state and federal government, how can they have trust that their tax dollars are going to go to benefiting the United States?
Yeah, so for their federal taxes, they can count on us to do everything we can to not ship money out the door if it's going to fraud, to ensure that it's going to the people that the program was actually designed for, which is a lot of working families that struggle to afford health care without Medicaid and struggle to afford child care without federal support. That's what Congress designed the programs for. That's who we're going to ensure the money goes to. But they also need to hold their state officials accountable for their role in this. We are doing everything we can federally, across this department, as well as obviously other departments, to ensure that every single taxpayer dollar at the federal level is spent the way it's intended to.
Do you think people will be going to prison for the fraud that's been committed in these states?
I think so, yeah.
How long do you think it will take to see somebody go to prison?
Prosecutions often take a long time, and that's not my area of expertise. But I would just say prosecutions are great, but we're also, that's about fraud in the past. We're also totally committed to preventing fraud in the future.
And what have you guys seen so far from a state like Minnesota where a politician could be imprisoned?
So I was in Minnesota last Wednesday. I met with a lot of these officials. Some of them are new, some of them are old. If any of them have committed actual crimes as opposed to mere incompetence, then, our Inspector General office is looking into that, as well as on the provider side. Some of the former state officials we met with in Minnesota said site visits are not even a regular part of fighting fraud. They just trust. So we went to a site. It's an old cannery, supposedly on paper housed more than 300 Medicaid providers during the Walz administration in this one building. So we drove up, we got out of the car, we were standing on the sidewalk looking around. There were no kids around, by the way. We got a lot of hostility from the people that were kind of lurking alongside the building. One particular person saw us, assumed we were feds, which we were, started honking angrily, gave us the finger, and then as we drove away, this woman followed us for like 10 minutes, observing us, checking us out, seeing what we were doing. It was really like we were being driven. There were no weapons brandished, but really it was like we were being driven away from this site because we were going to ask questions. And that's why states need to do site visits. They need to go to these places, make sure they're real, and not just trust or turn a blind eye.
Yeah, because what I did, I kind of caught them red-handed because I just showed up to locations.
That's right.
On a normal weekday.
Yes.
And there was nobody inside any of the buildings. I found a building with over 14 Medicare providers. And what would be the point? You found one with 300 that had in the past.
Yeah.
What would be the point of a building having
300? What the hell? All right, we're going to do a quick swap over to some Canadian politics and news, and then we'll head back to Leering Center stuff. And then by that point, we should be at question period, statements by members, that time frame. People are nuts. Yeah, they are.
They don't even believe in democracy anymore.
Another one bites the dust. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today, it's not only Bill Blair that has resigned, but Nate Erskine Smith is also stepping down. Stephen Harper had his portrait unveiled in Parliament, and we've got another floor crosser, but it's not what you think. It's not bad. Just a political play. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, Kirk posting this. Another day, another company suspends investment in Canada because of red tape. Glencore was planning to invest $1 billion, which includes $300 million on emissions reductions, but still can't get regulatory assurance that they could operate. It can't operate after March 20 2027 with the new provincial regulations. This is ridiculous. We're going to lose a company investing $1 billion because of these stupid regulations. And we've got this one here from the Globe and Mail. In the Trump era, the F-35 is no longer the right plane for Canada. What a ridiculous article to put out. We're going to buy Gripens, these old jets that'll get completely dominated by the F-35s. This is so stupid. And so many of these liberals are just getting brainwashed. We should scrap F-35 program and buy Gripen. Like, the F-35s just went in and knocked out all the missile defense and radars in Venezuela. They easily went in there and captured Maduro because of these planes. And we're going to get old technology like the Gripens. That's a great idea. What a waste of money. Liberal media trying to use propaganda again. The F-35 has always been the best plane. Yep. With that fear mongering, we've got this. There's a lot of this talk now. Should Canada have nuclear weapons? Obviously, this is all centered around Donald Trump. The fear of America rushing in and stealing our country. We need to have the nukes. Now, they don't outright say that, but I mean, this is basically what they're doing here.
Why do we not need nuclear weapons in your view? Why do we have no intention to get them?
Because Canada is a signatory to international treaties which preclude us, number one, and Canada has been a non-nuclear proliferation state for a long time.
So he says we don't need nukes. Obviously, media pushing this out scares Canadians. There's no doubt it scares Canadians. Like, start talking about us having to need nuclear weapons. This is just more fear-mongering propaganda. Moving ahead, we've got Carney giving a speech during Stephen Harper's painting unveiling ceremony. And just so you know what we're talking about, this is the portrait here. Listen to Carney's words here. He talks about a balanced conservative government, and it kind of backfires on him.
Stephen Harper was and is a conviction politician. But he was also, when circumstances warranted, a pragmatist. Came to Ottawa as a balanced budget conservative, believing rightly I got to a comma, not a period. Believing rightly that government should live within their means. Be like that as well.
You should take his own advice then. He's going to spend another $12 billion on grocery handouts and increase inflation even more. Maybe start cutting some stuff.
Yeah, Carney, maybe start being like Harper. How about that one?
But when the financial crisis struck, he did not let ideology prevent him from doing what was necessary, running deficits for 5 years to support the Canadian economy through the worst global downturn in generations.
This is very weird because obviously he worked for Stephen Harper. So did Poilievre. Stephen Harper endorsed Pierre Poilievre. I don't know if this is going to affect anything in the polls with all this talk about Stephen Harper and how those were the best times. The richest middle class, I think in Canadian history, was under Stephen Harper, at least in recent times. The nice thing about Carney is he seems like an actual human. Pierre just seems like CPC robot. Oh boy, we got a lot of work. There's a lot of brainwashed people here.
703 likes. Yeah, guys, I'm going to be honest. I don't think a conservative minority government is coming anytime soon. People they love the Liberals. I don't know why. This country is so cooked. It is unreal. Holy crap. Holy shit. Look, Twitter doesn't always equal, the internet in general doesn't always equal reality, but the fact that that has 703 likes. Woo.
Moving ahead, talking about the resignations. Nate Erskine,
and it's people like this right here. David Cochrane and the mainstream media. They do a phenomenal job at pushing the liberal propaganda. They're scratching each other's backs and holding each other in place.
Smith, Bill Blair.
Yesterday, longtime MP and former cabinet minister Bill Blair resigned from his Scarborough Southwest seat to have become the High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. And today, the Liberals announced that the Ontario NDP deputy leader will run in Blair's former seat. Ali Begum was until today the Ontario NDP MPP for Scarborough Southwest. And the dominoes keep falling. Just hours after that announcement, Liberal MP Nathaniel Erskine Smith said he will seek the Ontario Liberal Party's nomination to run in Begum's former riding. And while he says he plans to support the Prime Minister in the meantime, this could mean another by-election on the 2026 calendar.
So this is all very coordinated here. And this is a complete cluster. So Nate Erskine-Smith is going to run in her riding. She crossed the floor to the Liberals. As you heard him say there, she's an NDP MPP, Ontario NDP party, the deputy leader, the second in command, crossing the floor to the Liberals. That's a big middle finger to the NDP. But I'm not surprised. You know, people will do anything for money and power. That's what you're seeing here. You get an opportunity like that, just throw your people under the bus. That's what she's doing. She's first elected NDP MPP in 2018, handed in her resignation on Tuesday. Nate Erskine-Smith coming out with this. When it comes to Ontario, I'm all in. Goal is to make the biggest difference, yada, yada, yada. He'll actually push back against Doug Ford here because the lefties like this guy. He'll probably pull in some of that NDP support because he's a very far left liberal like Trudeau. We got Mario calling him out here. Don't be shy, resign, go all in if that's what your focus is. I mean, so basically he's still going to collect his cushy paycheck until it's time for him to actually run, and then he wants to win and then just switch over versus quitting and going all in. I mean, these guys are all cowards, as Mario's pointing it out here. So quit. Seriously, you should quit. The duality of collecting a paycheck as an MP at the federal level, but campaigning for the provincial leadership should be grounds for dismissal. It should be. It's ridiculous. Yeah, as M. Brand's posting, yeah, keeping your federal seat. Yeah, just dipping one toe in the water there. And while we've got CBC and Cochrane here, this is from this clip the other day of the media saying that they got Carney's back. Well, Cochrane unblocked his account to fling some more mud before he locked it again. This group represents people who make scripted TV shows and movies, not news. So that's his big clapback. And he says, all you internet detectives.
So he doesn't believe in what he claims then. If he has to lock his account and all this shit, he doesn't believe what he actually claims.
Should try to use this little known tool called Google. It's amazing what you might find. He's so arrogant. And then he comments here, it's almost like this clip is being presented and portrayed in a deliberately misleading fashion to leave a bad and inaccurate impression. But I can't imagine anyone in a position of real authority or responsibility deliberately doing something like that. That's hilarious coming from David Cochrane, who does this on a daily basis.
Wow. Holy crap.
Hero of propaganda. He's a bureaucrat. Yeah, the bureaucrat here. These are the head guys. You'd think he'd be obsessed with maintaining a professional image, but he really thinks being snotty, catty, and condescending on social media shows that he's real. That sums up Cochrane, snotty. Now going back up to the top here, David Cochrane's argument that this group here only represents people with scripted TV shows. Then using his advice to use Google, I found an example of a TV show. We've got Anne with an E, as we can see. This is network CBC television, Netflix. This is represented by the CMPA. With tax dollars, what they do is inject stuff into these shows, which slowly changes public perception. And as we see here, the series tackles a range of issues like helping orphans, child abandonment, psychological trauma, social issues such as conformity, gender equality, racism, religion, homosexuality, bullying, freedom of speech. They inject a whole bunch of woke nonsense in these kind of shows. Netflix woke Anne with an E wants it both ways. That's its biggest problem. They inject all this woke ideology nonsense into this, slowly changing the public's perception. David Cochrane thinks we're stupid. We know exactly what they're doing. They're doing it in media that people watch and enjoy, TV shows. They're also doing it in the news media. David Cochrane does it every night. Jumping over to CTV, we've got a wild take here from Robert Fife. Believe it or not, I agree with the guy completely here. Talking about that NDP, what's her name? Dolly Begum? Listen to this take.
But I cannot resist commenting on what I've heard here before with these other people. This is liberal cynicism at its worst. Look, this Miss Begum has no principles whatsoever. She was a New Democrat, a deputy leader. She sold her soul to the Liberals. And the Liberals, they don't even believe in democracy anymore. What about grassroots democracy? What about nomination meetings where you go and you fight for an...
Yeah, I uploaded this clip as well, and I got to agree, man. The Liberals are a bunch of slime bags doing everything to get a majority, but through votes.
Nomination. No, these two, the one in Krista Freeland's and in this one, have been picked by the party to run as nomination. So there's no grassroots. There's no feeling within the party that you can go and vote for somebody because you know what? Liberals may not vote for Miss Begum because they see her as what she is. She was a former New Democratic NDP leader, deputy leader. So
does it matter? Like, political parties will push back and say, like, obviously we're trying to win.
Well, of course they want to win.
All sorts of parties appoint.
But I'm not. I don't. At the same time, you have to call it for what it is.
Of course. That's why we have Bob Fife in the world. Yeah.
He's right here. I mean, they're just appointing people. There's no democracy. There's no grassroots, selling their soul. As for the other lady here that's taking over Chrystia Freeland's riding, Melissa's already dug this up here. Holy crap, Carney Liberals have selected Danielle Martin, who wrote a book, and one of her big ideas is basic income guarantee. You can't make this up. So it's right here, implement a basic income guarantee to alleviate poverty, which is a major threat to health, yada, yada, yada. Who's paying for that?
And you know, I get the sense here, the way things are being played out in this landscape, that we may be going into an election campaign.
Yeah, it doesn't feel impossible at this moment. George, you want to jump in, then I'll get Shakir.
So as for election, we've got 3 by-elections here. Nate Erskine-Smith, Bill Blair, Chrystia Freeland. So either Mark Carney is going to put a by-election or 2 or 3 in here and test him out, maybe just one, and see where he's at, or he might just jump the gun based on the polling numbers right now. But if he does that once again without an NDP leader, which they'll get at the end of March, then he looks like a complete jerk. This is once again a toss-up. He might not give a crap because, well, he doesn't seem to care about anyone but himself. So,
well, yeah, just really quickly to say, that's the other part of this, right? I mean, I would be shocked if we don't see Miss Begum in some kind of senior role if she does get elected. So I think there's more dealings going on here than just, hey, do you want to be an MP? I think there's more being offered to her, which again adds to that cynicism that Bob's talking about. And I think on top of that, having on the same day, Nate Erskine-Smith announced that he's going to run in that seat. Like, this was a heavily coordinated,
organized, yeah.
It was a heavily coordinated plan to kind of try to get around any kind of, as Bob says, grassroots elections.
Seat.
Well, and he's going to sit as an MP during the election.
I want to give the floor to Shakir. Shakir.
I mean, think about this. They're losing NDP support, and so maybe they're trying to do this to pull some back. You got a real NDP-looking character like her, that Dolly character. Not to mention she was a Ontario deputy leader. This might be their Hail Mary to try to keep the NDP supporters.
Your thoughts on that? And then maybe also because you worked in the Harper government, your reflections on what's occurring here.
I think just for Harper, I mean, to Bob's point, right? When you're in government, you know, folks don't really like you. When you're out of government, you know, people kind of praise you. So good for Harper. Obviously, you know, a guy who had conviction, was principled, really focused on detail, and you know.
Yeah, he's 100% right here. I mean, they're all praising. I see leftists praising Harper now, but back then they wouldn't have been praising him. It's always like that.
Well, you know, maybe I'll pick up on something that Bob laid out there at the end, which was whether or not we're about to have an election. I am skeptical that the prime minister is likely to call an election anytime soon. I think he would much rather govern. But I'll say, perhaps as a cynical liberal, as Bob puts it, I think the prime minister should call an election. I think if you look at the polling, it's very clear that he would secure a majority mandate and he should go to the polls and seek a mandate to deal with our trading relationship as we head into the Cushman renegotiation.
This liberal guy, Dan Moulton, is absolutely clueless. But I'm not surprised. He thinks Carney would rather govern. He's not doing anything. Let's get real.
Revolving door seemingly going on with all of these changes. Yeah. What do you make of this move? And it signals this will be, with Nate Erskine-Smith, the third pretty high-profile departure in a short period of time from the federal Liberals.
Did he say when he's going to be going?
It's when the nomination happens, when the by-election gets called. He's going to stay on until, like, it's up to Doug Ford, I guess, when that by-election would be. So I don't know if
he's going to hang around and collect his paycheck and campaign. It's just ridiculous. He should have to quit.
He wants to go without a paycheck for a while, but, you know, he's got to figure that out.
It's really interesting. I think just something that Supriya just said made me think about this, that any person who is seeking the Liberal leadership in Ontario can announce that they plan on seeking a seat in that area. And it kind of takes out of the play anybody who's not within the caucus right now who's trying to become the leader of the Liberal Party, because there's going to be an open seat. Obviously, they're going to have the ability to run. So I think, Nate, it's interesting that he came out and announced it, but that probably is going to be the place where any new leader of the Liberal Party in Ontario is probably going to run. It's their first opportunity to do so.
Right. And so, Emily, how do you see this, right? It's a New Democrat at one level moving as a Liberal to another level, and then, you know, Liberal sliding down. It's like a game of snakes and ladders. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think to understand those kind of moves, you always need to take it side by side. There was a lot of floor crossing last fall when it comes to the Conservative to the Liberal, and I think in the current context it made more sense in the sense that you do have a Liberal government that has shifted to the right of what the Trudeau era represented. And so it makes sense that if there are people within the Conservative Party that are a little bit more progressive conservative who want to be in power, that they would move over. For somebody who comes from the NDP to go to Mark Carney right now is more counterintuitive. And when you read the statement that she put forward in terms of explaining her decision, it reads more like a line than an actual explanation. So I'm just curious. I do want to understand what the...
She's not buying it here, but I mean, we know what's going on here. They're trying to keep that NDP support by bringing in one of the biggest lefties in Ontario who has lots of exposure to a lot of voters there. As a leftist herself, she's not buying it. So I don't know if NDP voters will buy it either. I don't know if they feel like it's a you traitor, you left our party, or are they fine with it because it's still on the left? I don't know. I would assume they wouldn't like it just the same as a conservative voter would go over to the PPC. Conservatives wouldn't like that either, but I mean, who knows?
She was the deputy leader. They're definitely not going to like that.
The line of reasoning is because it's not a first historically. I think Bob Rae is perhaps the most famous Ontario NDPer to have switched to the federal Liberal. You've had the reverse in the past. I'm thinking of Tom Mulcair, who was a Quebec Liberal before becoming an NDP leader, although a lot of NDP...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of floor crossers here, but it burns bridges. People feel snake bitten every single time. So, I mean, these are all just political plays. People moving around, it's all opportunity and money and power.
It comes down to, I don't think it's right or left.
No, but the big national dynamic, right? Like he's had some conservative floor crossers. There's a new Democrat willing to join, and you just see they're above where they were in an election, that they almost won a majority. Just what does that mean for where the country is and what it means for Mr. Poilievre, for example?
Snapshot in time, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
He had a good week in Davos. Everything seems to be going their way right now. But I still think that the way it breaks down underneath those polls is demographics. And I still see that Mr. Poilievre has a real great hold on people 35 and under, and Mr. Carney has a real hold on people 50 and over. And whether or not that's right or left or center or middle, I don't know, but it really is dividing out that way in terms of when you break down the polls underneath. But we're going to see what ends up happening. I'm just grateful that when I heard the word floor crosser, it wasn't one of mine, because what a day for that to happen with Harper in town, it would have been awful.
Yeah, well,
yeah, that's well said. If it was another floor crosser and it was from the Conservatives, that would be miserable. In fact, it's NDP provincial going to Liberal, and it's not federal NDP going to Liberal. That would have been awful too. Clearly, the Liberals are trying to work their angle provincially, federally. That's all they're doing. They're spending their time there versus fixing our country. And really, all this stuff comes down to, well, getting a deal with Trump. I thought this article here is just well put. It says, what if Trump is painfully right? Trump's methods offends, but his diagnosis of freeloading allies and failing international order may be uncomfortably closer to reality. That's what we're looking at with this whole situation. People don't like Trump, so they just want to punish Trump no matter what, even if it means destroying our own country. That's where we are with the liberal voters. They don't care to look at anything else, whether we're getting in bed with communist China. They don't care as long as it's punish Trump. They're making this whole thing of Canada versus Trump, but really it's Canadian families and American families that buy and sell products and goods. Trump is in control of America, but I mean, our relationship is deeper than Donald Trump. He's only been there for 4 years. He'll be there for a total of 8. Unfortunately, the left cannot put this aside, focus on the fact we have to get a deal here. As CBC Watcher is quoting here, nobody wants Trump to be right. The possibility offends, but wanting is not analysis. The offense is not refutable. The painful possibility that Canadian policymakers must sit with is that Trump's crude assessment of allies, adversaries, and the failing international order may be closer to truth than the elegant alternative Carney presented to standing ovations in Switzerland. Sometimes the rude guest sees what polite ones have agreed not to mention. This comment here, the fact that we're allying with China, shows that Trump was right all along. Any point in time before Justin Trudeau, there would be politicians in jail. And so speculating that Donald Trump might be working with Carney or not, one thing's for certain, he's not working with Carney with China. It would just be working with Carney to make America stronger, bring more of our companies down there. But it's clear Trump doesn't want to have anything to do with China and has been warning all of us about China. And the way he does business with them is he keeps leverage over top of them so they don't have power over America. Carney, on the other hand, has given China the leverage over us. And so regarding our trade deal with America, we've got Christy Freeland here talking about our CUSMA negotiations and how important they are.
You mentioned that U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement you helped to negotiate. That is set to be reviewed by this summer. What happens if the U.S. pulls out of that?
I think that would be devastating for the U.S. economy. devastating for the U.S. economy.
That's right, for the US economy. It would hurt them, it would devastate us. Like, we need to be real. Bilateral trade equals goods and services purchased plus goods and services sold. For the United States, Canadian bilateral represents 2.8 of US GDP. For Canada, US bilateral trade represents 38% of Canada's GDP. Now, one thing we do have here, and I mentioned this in a previous video, Pierre Poilievre and Steve Outhouse have to come up with a new strategy to address Trump. They can't just ignore the situation and just focus on the cost of living, because they won't win that way. They have to address Trump somehow. And we have this now. So Jamil Javani has agreed to go down to Washington to DC using his relationship with his good buddy JD Vance, the vice president, and try to work out a deal with Donald Trump.
I'm on my way to Washington, D.C., and I want to explain to you, the Canadian people, exactly why. Because you're probably going to hear about it. I'm going to Washington because I want to help Prime Minister Mark Carney be successful in negotiating a trade deal with the United States. Now, that might sound counterintuitive because I am a principled conservative. He is our liberal prime minister. But the reality is that this is not a partisan issue. CUSMA and trade with the United States is so important to the Canadian economy and to our future as an independent, self-reliant nation that conservatives and liberals don't need to fight over this at all. In fact, we need to work together. The leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, has said as much. He has offered help from conservatives to the Liberal government on this issue, and I'm acting on that. In my opinion, this is not about posturing or politics. This is about business and workers.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. If Carney agreed to this, he must have, because you know what's going to happen here. If Jamil goes down there and talks with JD Vance or Trump and says, we need to work this out, let's do this, let's do that, and comes back with like a framework of a deal, he's going to look like the hero as well as the conservatives. And then with cost of living being so bad and Trump not being the issue, the conservatives will then likely surge in the polls. Did Carney approve this? I don't know.
This is about unions and entrepreneurs. This is about whether we have a growing economy with stability for investment and opportunity for our young people, or whether our economy is perpetually in a state of uncertainty.
This is going to take away Mark Carney's boogeyman if he's able to get a deal. And it wouldn't be Carney getting the deal. Sure, Carney would try to claim credit, but I don't think he would get that credit if JD Vance is the one who sets this up. This is a smart move. This is the right move.
But as he said before, Canadians are thinking of it like Canada versus Trump. JD Vance is a part of that Trump. And look, man, the mainstream media is going to spin it every way possible to say, oh, look, it's Carney who let the conservative go over there and do this. Oh, look, Carney's unifying the parties by allowing Jamil to go over there and talk to Trump. Like, they will spin it every single way possible to push Carney on a pedestal, even though he did absolutely nothing. Who knows if he'll even get a deal? Who knows if there will even be talks beyond just this? I don't know. But it's interesting that they're going for Jamil Javani because they've all failed. Every single liberal minister has failed. The entire party is a failure. And now they're allowing that to happen. And I'm telling you right now, if Jamil comes back, the mainstream media will spin it into Carney was willing to work with the conservatives and he united Canada to fight Donald Trump, and they will back Carney even further. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to go in the conservatives' favor. When the liberals removed the carbon tax, it didn't go in the conservatives' favor. The mainstream media spun it to prop up Carney. Every single thing the liberals have taken from the conservatives, the mainstream media spins it to push and prop up Carney. It's going to be the exact same thing. Anyway, we're roughly 10 minutes out from question period. Got a little more of this to get into, then we'll get to it.
Of essentially the same Medicare providers or healthcare providers.
Well, medical office buildings are a thing. In theory, you could have a building that has multiple providers in it, but the size of the building has to be big enough to hold, all those things. Obviously, what we both found, especially you, was it doesn't even make logical sense that many providers would be in a building of that size, plus the hostility. If you read something on paper, it seems a little odd that many companies would be in one building. Well, just go visit. Go find them, which is what you did. Yeah.
So is the state doing these visits?
No, usually not.
So they're just cutting the check.
Even as a matter of policy, the former officials told me we don't really do site visits, especially not surprise site visits. So yeah, they were just cutting the check.
And these checks aren't just $1 million, they're $10 million, millions of dollars. How deep do you think the fraud is in a state like Minnesota?
Every week that goes by, it looks deeper and bigger, and like a bigger part of the Minnesota budget, a bigger part of the Minnesota economy, frankly. Who knows how deep it'll go? I think we've just seen the tip of the iceberg so far.
And going back to the point of the states suing you guys,
yeah,
what plan are they implementing on their own to not let fraud happen?
Well, they're all paying lip service to fighting fraud, but they're also minimizing, especially those 5 states, they're minimizing how bad it probably is. And the fact that they don't want to show receipts or evidence or invoices suggests that they're hiding something. Otherwise, why would they sue? That's how I would take the fact that they sued.
It seems like they've just been enabling the fraud to happen for years and years. And they've attacked, they're using children and they're using immigrants as like political pawns to receive these millions of dollars. They're having adult daycares. They're even using autistic children to receive funding. They're using adult daycares and assisted livings, healthcare, and all these immigrants that a lot of them are naturalized citizens of the United States. They're using them to go out and get the money. And then literally there's not a need for 10 daycares within a mile radius. But if you drive around Minneapolis, it's very likely you're going to find these daycares popping up anywhere. And so when it comes down to like actually cracking down on the fraud, for instance, Quality Learning Center, they had 90 violations. And they were continuing to receive, I believe it was $1.9 million. Do you think by simply asking for proof of legitimacy in the future, which these states are now suing you guys for asking for, do you think that will help stop the fraud?
So you notice a lot of this fraud seems to be in areas that don't involve a license. So like daycare, there's no license to revoke or even inspect. A lot of these non-emergency transportation services, there seems to be a lot of fraud in that. That also doesn't involve a specific medical license. I think that is an area that people that want to do fraud tend to go into these sort of higher risk welfare and Medicaid areas. And that's also where we're focused on cracking down. So the reforms we have done on Medicaid in Minnesota, we're literally imposing a penalty of hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter on their Medicaid because that's how much fraud there is.
And real quick break from the interview to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Opus Clip. What used to just be an AI editor has now become the most powerful AI growth tool for creators and businesses. Over 10 million creators and businesses have started to use Opus Clip, and it's helped them gain over 60 billion views. It's super simple to use. All you do is you upload a YouTube video or upload a video into Opus Clip, and it'll come out tons of viral videos for you to then choose from. I even had my friend start using Opus, and he had just around 100 followers, and within a few videos, he was able to get a video to 30,000 views. And Opus Clip just came out their new AI Editor 3.0 that comes with smarter auto framing, better virality scoring, and new captions. I personally love Opus because it helps me reformat my content for all platforms, whether it be Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, you name it, you can go and use Opus Clip. And for you guys watching this video, Opus is going to hook you guys up with a sweet deal. You'll get 1 week free and 3 months at 50% off. All I have to do is go to the link in the description of this video or the pinned comment down below and use code NICK_SHIRLEY. And now let's get back into the interview. How much money goes to a state like Minnesota every year from the federal government?
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
And
so 185 million specifically on child care to Minnesota, Medicaid in the billions.
Something that kind of worries me, in New York City, they have universal child care for children between the age of 2 to 3, Zohran Mandami just announced. We just learned that the fraud in Minnesota, a lot of it has been committed with using children to receive all this money. Should it be concerning when a politician runs on the idea of giving free child care, giving free health care to individuals? Is it really realistic that that money is going to be spent correctly based off what we've seen so far?
People are right to be skeptical and right to ask questions, including about brand new programs. obviously, a lot of the children in the Minnesota situation weren't even real children. They didn't even really exist, right? Real children wouldn't go into buildings like this. Fake children that only exist on paper can go anywhere. And so that would be a concern about a new program in New York as well.
Yeah, because it makes me question, and then I actually questioned them, and then they came back to me on a post on X saying, like, they literally questioned me for asking the question about, oh, shouldn't we be concerned that all this fraud just happened in Minnesota and now you guys are talking about childcare? And the Governor Hochul, her team, came back at me and tweeted at me for questioning and being concerned about millions of dollars and billions of dollars actually for childcare inside of New York City, inside of New York, for instance.
It's always interesting when people don't want you to ask questions. What are they hiding? What are they afraid of? What are they hiding that they know?
All right, so very quickly, we have a 4 minutes ago, literally 14 minutes ago, if you count the entire interview, Pierre Poilievre about to meet with Mark Carney. So let's see what he has to say.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre. I'm wondering what advice you gave to Mr. Giovanni before his trip.
Les Canadiens ont besoin de l'espoir, l'espoir que la vie peut devenir
English, please.
abordable, mais devenir abordable. Et avec ça, c'est un 10 ans d'élite et d'illusion. Rapidement, un taux de la surtout pour ces nous sommes dépliqués ces 5. Pour travailler de logement, je 14, c'est dans l'intérêt. L'autosuffisance pour well, look at this. We've got a. We're working. We've got a,
We're actually going to work.
You better start. We've.
Holy shit.
Canadians need hope right now. Et c'était l'autosuffisance et la sécurité avant la partisanerie. Et c'est ça mon message pour M. Carney aujourd'hui. Thanks, everyone. Canadians need hope right now. They need hope. You want to sneak by here? Good to see you. This is not hope. This is not hope over here. Well, look at this. We've got a. We're
working.
We've got a,
We're actually going to work.
You better start. We've got. This is the group here that have given you the most expensive groceries in the G7. And hopefully they'll work in the opposite direction. People need hope that they can actually afford their lives, afford to go to the grocery store, afford to buy homes, afford to live in Canada once again, afford that they'll be safe on their streets, hope that we'll be a self-reliant economy and military. After 10 years of Liberals, life is expensive, dangerous, and our economy is more dependent than ever. Mr. Carney promised change. After a year, we've seen nothing but illusions. In reality, life is even worse now than when he took office. The illusion was that he would give us affordable groceries. The reality is that he's given us the worst grocery price inflation in the G7. The illusion was that he'd get rid of the carbon tax. The reality is he's brought in another one. The illusion was that he was going to build homes. The reality is that home building is collapsing in G7, in Vancouver and Toronto, and we have the most expensive housing in the G7. The illusion was that he was going to bring safety. The reality is he hasn't changed a single word in the criminal code or gotten rid of a single catch and release Liberal law. The illusion was that he was going to build, baby, build. Remember that? Well, the reality is that even though we gave him exceptional powers in Bill C-5 that he said he needed to build really fast, we gave him that bill in 5 days. We're now 7 months later, he has not approved a single project using that bill. The illusion was that he was going to open new markets in the world, and there's been lots of photo ops and signing ceremonies, but he's not signed a single new free trade agreement with any country. And in fact, he has not gotten the deal that he promised he would have with the Americans by July 21st. Canadians cannot live in Mr. Carney's illusion.
July 21st. Holy shit.
They live in the costly, dangerous, and dependent reality that he has created. My message to him is to work with us. Work with us to fast-track results for an affordable, safe, self-reliant Canada. We've got concrete proposals, and we have a track record of showing that we're willing to work together. We fast-tracked Bill C-18, C-13, C-14, C-5, C-3, C-4, and C-12. We're the ones trying to hit the gas pedal. My message to Mr. Carney, stop hitting the brakes, because Canadians need hope for affordable, safe, and secure Canada. Thank you.
He's going to ask you to work with him. He's going to ask you to work with him. Like
Yeah.
That's easy to say. You need to work with us. We're the government.
Well,
Why
look-
don't you get on board and get out of the way? Well, that's
We're not,
easy to say.
we have been working to fast track anything that we believe, however modest, might make life a little more affordable, a little safer, and our economy a little stronger. So it's he that is holding up the show. He's been in power for almost a year now, promising rapid change. But I ask Canadians, what's changed in your life? Are your groceries affordable? Is your rent affordable? Are your streets safe? No, they're not. All of those things have thus far been an illusion. But the good news is, we're here to work to fast track the changes and the results that Canadians need.
Can I ask what advice you gave Mr. Giovanni before his trip to Washington?
And who is he meeting there?
So the advice I've given all of our MPs is you need to fight for jobs in your community. Mr. Giovanni's community has been hit with a massive job loss, 1,200 jobs in the auto sector, and he's going to fight for those auto workers, as all of our MPs have been doing. You know, Mr. Carney had promised that he would get us a deal by last July. My message to him today is Conservatives are here to work with the Prime Minister and with the government to knock down these unjust tariffs and fight for our workers, fight for their jobs, and fight for our economic independence.
How are you dealing with Mr. Trump, sir? Foreign affairs are half the job of the Prime Minister, Shirley.
Right.
And surely this is a unique time.
Absolutely.
We didn't hear a lot about Mr. Trump from your speech in Calgary. We're asking, where do you want to take the relationship with Mr. Trump? How would you do it? How would you do differently? How do you deal with your caucus, where a fair amount of people are pro with Mr. Trump?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part. Where the
The
fair amount of
last
people
part is a fair amount of the Conservative membership seems to be, and part of your caucus seems to be very supportive of Mr. Trump in some ways.
Well, I don't think, I think you're reading in assumptions here. How would I deal with it? We need our country to be strong, self-reliant, and sovereign, able to stand on its own 2 feet. Then we can negotiate from a position of strength. For example, we need to rapidly approve a pipeline to the Pacific. That means not announcements or meaningless memorandums, but a permit to get it in the ground. We need to get rid of the capital gains tax on reinvestments in Canada to bring back that $500 billion the Liberals have sent south. And then we need to look the President of the United States in the eye and say that the only way for us to be safe, secure, and better off on both sides of the border is to have free and fair reciprocal cross-border trade, combined with both doing our parts to protect our territories in North America. That's the approach that I would take. I have only one more question because the Prime Minister.
What bills are getting launched by Minister?
Wait.
All right, it's a French question. Let's move on to House of Commons. Melissa Lantsman.
This accountability and human rights from the birthplace of modern civilization. And sometimes it's quieter. What whispered in the candlelight vigils, carried in silent prayer for those fearing for their loved ones at home. We face a choice: answer the call for action or let it fall on deaf ears. And this government has chosen inaction. To those fighting for freedom and democracy, keep going everywhere around the world. The day will come when the regime falls and the Iranian people are free to live in their homeland. Until then, we will not be silent. We will not look away. We will never stop fighting for a free Iran and a Canada strong and free of the IRGC agents that they let into our communities.
L'honorable député de Brome.
The Honourable Member for Brome-Missisquoi. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to highlight an important celebration taking place this year in my riding, the 150th anniversary of the town of Cowansville, which is being celebrated under the leadership of the town's mayor, Sylvie Beauregard. Cowansville was founded in 1876. It is a dynamic community known for innovation, solidarity, and civic participation. Throughout this year, residents are gathering to celebrate their history and the contributions of the generations that helped shape their town. This anniversary is also an opportunity to remember a momentous event in our national history. In the 1960s, the Cowansville company Bruck Mills produced the first prototypes of the Canadian flag, which was officially adopted in 1965. This example illustrates just how important local contributions are to Canada's history. I wish the community of Cowansville and all of its residents a great celebration of their 150th anniversary.
20 years ago, Canada elected a new Conservative government led by Prime Minister Stephen Harper. The Harper legacy is one of true progress. Our government cut virtually every tax Canadians pay. We negotiated a record number of trade deals more critical now than ever. We navigated a global economic meltdown guided by the world-leading Harper-Flaherty Economic Action Plan. We introduced the Muskoka Initiative, widely recognized as one of the most impactful G7, G8 initiatives of all time. We launched life-changing programs like the Registered Disability Savings Plan and the Ready, Willing, and Able Employment Program. By 2015, Canada had a balanced budget and, according to the New York Times, the richest middle class in the world. Today, that era may seem like a distant memory, but the story of our strong, principled Conservative legacy offers Canadians hope for a better future, a future guided by another strong, principled Conservative leader. We've done this before, and we can do it again.
Here, here.
The Honourable Member for St. Catharines.
Mr. Speaker, ALS is a progressive neurological disease with no cure. Nearly 4,000 Canadians are currently living with ALS, and each year about 1,000 more will be diagnosed, while another 1,000 will lose their lives to this devastating illness. An ALS diagnosis is life-changing for patients and their loved ones. I recently met with my constituent, Christopher May, who was recently diagnosed. Despite the challenges ahead, Chris remains hopeful. Hopeful because Canada is home to world-class researchers and clinicians dedicated to improving treatment, care, and outcomes for people living with ALS. We have the expertise and the capacity to lead by strengthening national research efforts and supporting collaboration across institutions and sectors. We can accelerate discovery and expand access to clinical trials. Investing in ALS research is an investment in innovation, in better health outcomes, and in hope for families across the country. Together, we can work forward towards a future free of ALS.
The Honourable Member for Souris Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the Finance Minister promised Canadians he would stabilize food prices at his flashy grocery summit. Since then, prices have gone up significantly. Lettuce is up nearly 40%, coffee 33%, and beef 27%, just to name a few. Canada is now leading the G7 in food inflation at 6.2%. It's now twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office and twice as high as the United States. And it gets worse. Canadians are now making 2.2 million visits a month to food banks, which has doubled under this Liberal government. Instead of working to reduce food costs, the Minister is announcing yet another temporary rebate, giving some about $10 a week against grocery bills that are in the hundreds. The Liberals need to support our Conservative affordability plan, one that eliminates the industrial carbon tax and their 17 cents a litre standards fuel tax. It's time that these Liberals turn their rhetoric into results for Canadians.
Here, here. The Honourable Member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, let's honour the departure of an Alouette who is such a champion. Marc-Antoine Decoy is retiring after making history with the Montreal Alouettes, a defensive back on the team that won the 2023 Grey Cup against all odds. Marc-Antoine has recently become more known to the general public through TV. The charismatic former Carabin has shown that he's as comfortable in front of the camera as he is in the fourth quarter of a tough game. He was the Alouette ambassador for Quebecers, part of a team that makes a real effort to promote the French language in a unilingual English environment. It would be impossible to forget his heartfelt call during the Grey Cup in defense of his team, but also of all Quebecers. They won a Canadian championship in English only. He stated loud and clear what all Francophones were thinking in a speech that could just as well have summed up the history of Quebec. They never believed in us, but you know what, man? Keep your English.
The Honourable Member for Burlington.
Mr. Speaker, did you watch an NHL game last night? Or how about watch the House of Commons this past week? If so, you did so thanks to technology developed and built in Burlington, Ontario. For decades, Evertz has helped shape how the world sees and understands major moments. The company has enabled news and live events to reach audiences in real time. And behind that success are about 1,800 Canadian workers whose expertise is driving change across the industry. In January, I had the chance to tour their Burlington manufacturing facility and global headquarters to see firsthand how Canadian ingenuity, technology, and skill is shaping the global media landscape. They are Canadian first, a fully sovereign company at a time when that matters more than ever. So to my colleagues in this place, every time you look into one of these cameras and speak to your constituents, know that you're doing so with technology developed and built in Burlington, Ontario.
The Honourable Member for Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the Finance Minister promised to stabilize food prices. But since then, the price of lettuce is up 39%, coffee is up 33%, beef up 27%, baby formula up 13%, and even canned vegetables are up 12%. Canada now leads all G7 countries in food inflation and has over 2 million food bank visits each month. Food inflation is twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office. The industrial carbon tax and the liberal fuel standard tax are driving up costs of farm equipment, fertilizers, food processing, and transport, and passing the bill down to Canadians at the grocery store. Since they have no real plan to lower food costs, will the Liberals support our motion to introduce a food affordability plan that eliminates the industrial carbon tax and the fuel standard tax?
Honourable Member for New Westminster, Burnaby, Mallardville.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the life and passing of my grandfather, Jacob Sawatsky Sr., whose story embodies the very best of Canada. Born in Ukraine, he survived the Holodomor famine and Stalin's Great Terror, where his father was killed and many others in the family. At 16, he fled his village to find a new life. All he had was a bag of dry bread that his mother gave him. He arrived in Canada alone, speaking no English, with little education. Canada gave him refuge, and he gave back. While working in a factory, he learned English, went back to school, earned a science degree from UBC. He then taught math and physics for nearly 3 decades, shaping generations of young Canadians. Today, I wear his old tie in the chamber as a tribute to his values. He was proud of his family and forever grateful for a country where he could build a new life. Rest in peace, Jacob Sawatsky Sr. You will not be forgotten.
The Honourable Member for Medicine Hat, Cardston, Warner.
The Liberals are moving forward with their gun confiscation scheme, while at the same time the Public Safety Minister admits he can't explain the logic of his own policy, that more than $700 million will be wasted, and acknowledges that law-abiding gun owners are not the problem. Criminals using illegal guns are. Trudeau Liberals promised fair compensation, but now the program is capped. Valuations are half of before, and only about 15% of the more than 2 million guns actually are expected to be compensated. This government continues to target the wrong people, despite the majority of Canada's provinces and territories and most law enforcement agencies officially rejecting any role in enforcing this misguided policy, meaning there are no one to even collect these guns. Gun crime is up 130%, while the Liberals fail to secure the border, reduce penalties for gun crimes, and allow repeat offenders back on the streets. It's time for this government to scrap this wasteful, politically motivated, ideological program and invest in real public safety.
The Honourable Member for Oakville West.
Mr. Speaker, it's with great sadness that I rise to honor the life and legacy of Department Captain Stuart Campbell of Oakville Fire Department, who has passed away at the age of 56 after a courageous battle with occupational cancer. Captain Stu has served the Oakville community for more than 30 years, spanning most of his career at the Bronte Fire Station. He served with pride, courage, compassion, unity, and honor, showing an unwavering commitment to his brothers and sisters at the Oakville Fire Department. His passing is a reminder of dangers and occupational risk of our first responders faced in the line of duty, and our duty in turn to ensure the safety of our first responders. On behalf of the people of Oakville West, I thank Captain Stuart Campbell for his service and mentorship to the community. You will be remembered. To Stuart's wife and his 2 daughters, and to all who loved him, I offer my deepest condolences. Please know that his service, sacrifice, and legacy will never be forgotten by this community. Thank you.
The honourable member for Quebec, Matquaquet.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are a resilient people who believe that if they work hard, care for their neighbours, and contribute to their communities, they should be able to build a good life. Canadians are now feeling overwhelmed and weighed down, wondering how they will afford a home, put food on the table, or plan for tomorrow, but hope is not lost. It is found in our foundations as a nation, in the shared values that bind us together, in the enduring belief that a better country is built through hard work, good policy, and steady leadership. Conservatives are united by our belief in a shared dignity and opportunity. We believe government should let Canadians thrive. We need to let the farmers farm, let the producers produce, and let the workers work. Those are the very ones that help to build this country, and they will be key to our nation's comeback. And when this House puts forward serious, effective ideas that truly help Canadians, Conservatives will work in good faith to fast-track those results. Because we believe in Canada, we will always put our fellow Canadians ahead.
The honourable member for Pierrefonds-Dollard.
Mr. Speaker, this February marks 30 years of Black History Month in Canada. We reflect on the historic barriers Black communities have faced in North America. We recognize the sacrifices made during the Civil Rights Movement. Grâce à elles et eux, nous avons aujourd'hui.
Thanks to them, today we have essential rights and freedoms.
We have many representatives for my riding: WIPCA, Youth Stars, Overture for the Arts, Playmass, and many others. Merci pour votre contribution à notre...
Thank you for your indelible contribution to our community. The leaders of these groups and other groups are mentors for future generations.
They empower the next generation of Black leaders, and they pass on the legacy of giants who came before them. This work can't be done alone. J'encourage tout...
I encourage everyone to participate.
Help youth dream big and reach their full potential. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo. Oral questions, questions orales.
All right, here we go. Finally. Enough of the virtue signaling by members.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the current Minister of Finance promised firmly and with great enthusiasm to stabilize food prices. But this has been a great spectacle, but it didn't really give much results. Since then, prices are up, and the current PM said he'd be judged by prices at the grocery store, but it's a failure. Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. No prices are going down. His plan isn't working. Why should Canadians believe this Prime Minister when the last Liberal plan led to the worst food inflation in the G7? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, today, even this House will probably make the decision to send a bill to the Senate that will provide assistance up to $1,800 to families in Canada to help them with the issue of affordability, and notably in terms of groceries and essentials. We would invite the official opposition to support us in this. We are very happy that they said they would do so, and today is a historical day for affordability in Canada. The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable, historic day for affordability. No grocery prices are going down, and this GST credit isn't going to make things affordable. This means we have to bring prices down on groceries. Will they do this? They'll be giving a $10 coupon, in fact, for $300 for families. Mr. Speaker, most Canadians won't get anything this afternoon. Since they don't seem to be having any ideas, will they vote for our plan to make groceries affordable? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, good news today. the Conservatives will vote in favor of our plan to help everyday Canadians to pay groceries, an important plan that will make sure that they'll receive $1,800 per family across our country for the most vulnerable families. So I'd like to thank the Conservatives for seeing the light finally and to recognize that our plan is working.
Member for Chilliwack Hope.
The finance minister promised 3 years ago that he had a plan to lower food prices. Well, how's that working out? Since then, the cost of groceries has skyrocketed, with the price of lettuce up 40%, coffee up over 30%, the price of beef up over 25%. The recycled plan for a temporary rebate won't reduce the cost of a single item of food. Their plan has failed. So why don't the Liberals support our food affordability plan to axe the industrial carbon tax, cut the fuel standards tax, and boost competition in grocery stores to lower food prices for all Canadians?
Hear, hear. Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, today is a big day. Today is the day where, if all goes well, we will be passing historic assistance for Canadian families grappling with affordability issues with respect to food and essential goods. And after much cajoling, the opposition finally decided to stop the games, stop the obstruction, and to allow this bill to move on to the Senate so we can get that aid to Canadian families now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Most Canadians will get no benefit from this recycled plan. A small number will get about $10 a week, but that won't make a dent in the over $340 a week a family of four has to spend to buy groceries. The finance minister promised he would bring down grocery prices 3 years ago. He failed then, he's failing again. Their plan isn't working, so why don't they vote for our food affordability plan to cut the industrial carbon tax, axe the fuel standards tax, and finally lower grocery prices for all Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, last fall, all these Conservatives did was quote Food Bank Canada. Over and over and over, they talked about Food Bank Canada. They failed to notice that Food Bank Canada recommended exactly what we are doing right now, which is put more money in the pockets of those that need it the most. And yet they say, well, they want to cooperate. Can they stop obstructing legislation that is helping Canadians get ahead? They need to be partners in this work, Mr. Speaker. Canadians certainly are stepping up for each other. Why can't they step up for their constituents?
The honourable member for Newtecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, news reports this week confirm what Canadians already know. Our economy is on life support. Because of Liberal mismanagement, we've had 2 consecutive quarters of zero economic growth. While our GDP is stagnant, grocery inflation keeps climbing. This year will cost $17,600 to feed a family of 4, nearly $1,000 more than it did in 2025. Why is it under these Liberals the only thing rising is the price of food?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, since September, we've created 189,000 jobs. Great news for Canada. That is more jobs created in Canada than in the U.S. We have the second fastest growing economy. And let me give you examples. Alstom, 240 new jobs at Thunder Bay.
I can't believe they're actually pushing that.
100 new jobs
It's just so false.
330 new jobs at Bombardier. 300 new jobs at Valley Glencore Sudbury. Bayonne, St. Thomas, Ontario, Conservative writing. 300 new jobs.
The honourable member for Newtecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Hundreds of jobs are gained while thousands disappear.
It's the Liberals who need to wake up. Do they need to see how many more Canadians are on the street shaking a coffee cup for change? This government refuses to take the tax off food. They refuse to boost competition, and they refuse to deliver a real plan for food affordability. Their rebate won't reduce the price of a single item at their grocery store. Will they support our food affordability plan and deliver some real relief for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, the average family is saving $16,000 a year on childcare. You know who refuses to support young families with the cost of living? The Conservatives across the aisle. Mr. Speaker, families are saving $800 a year in food costs for their children at school. You know who refuses to feed hungry children at school, Mr. Speaker? The Conservatives. Mr. Speaker, every step we take, they obstruct. They get in the way of the very things that not only experts are calling for, but their very own constituents. When will they get in line?
The honourable member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, some retirees have not received their old age pensions for 9 months because of the CRM software, and the government's ignoring them. Today, they're not the only ones being ignored. The government is also ignoring the opinions of its own civil servants. In an internal survey, more than half of them rated the software 1 out of 10. 89% of them believe that CRM has hindered rather than improved services for Canadians. When will the Liberals take their heads out of the sand and fix the problems? The Honourable Minister of Employment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The implementation of this new platform requires an adaptation period. We're working tirelessly to ensure that the personnel has the necessary tools to familiarize themselves with this new system and to provide benefits. If someone is having issues with this, they need to contact Service Canada and my office directly so we can respond to their demands. Thank you.
Contact Patty directly, guys. She'll help you out. There you go.
Sounding the alarm for months. And in a document provided by La Presse, the union says that CRM...
And yeah, I'm pretty sure it is the same thing they said last week. I had to double check. We're not watching a repeat here. This is live right now.
Clearly states that citizens must not be told that payment delays or errors are related to CRM. Mr. Speaker, has the government ordered civil servants to lie instead of fixing the problems? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The problems related to old age security are over. More than 7,000 seniors are now receiving their payments. They're trying to cover 4 distinct projects. This is the amount set out and approved for the length of this project. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, some retirees have been waiting for their old age pensions for 9 months. And meanwhile, we learn that not only is this government pretending that everything's fine, and not only it's not telling the truth to the media or answering our questions, but it is asking its officials to lie to citizens and tell them that their problems have nothing to do with the CRM software. Mr. Speaker, what should be the Liberals' priority? Helping retirees or protecting their own backsides?
Attention.
Be careful. Decorum, please. The Honourable Minister of Employment and Families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our cabinet did reach out to the member across the way, but we did not receive a reply. If they have urgent cases to be resolved, I would ask them to contact me so we can reply to them. I'm ready to help out their constituents. Thank you.
For King Von.
Seniors built this country, and now they must make the tough decisions between buying groceries or medication. They can't absorb these costs, and they can't afford to skip meals. 3 years ago, the finance minister promised to stabilize food prices. Another broken promise. Canada has the worst food inflation in the G7. The Conservatives have the solution. Cut the industrial carbon tax, cut the fuel standard tax, give the supermarkets genuine competition. Will the Liberals adopt our proposals and demonstrate empathy for our seniors so they can live in dignity?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
I want to know why we're not
not adopting their plan, the answer is simple. The only person that thinks it's going to work is their leader. We are following the advice of Food Banks Canada. We are following the advices of experts. And let me tell you what seniors are saying. Dava Houston says, seeing a lot of talk about the grocery rebate helping no one. As a senior, I disagree. This benefit is specifically targeted to help those of us on fixed incomes navigate high food prices. It's a floor for people who built this country and need it. At least they could stop talking it down.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' recycled rebate does not address the high cost of groceries. Some seniors will only receive $10 a week, which is less than the cost of a cup of coffee per day, which is up 33.6%. The $10 savings is like receiving another coupon. This rebate is an admission of the failed policies of this Liberal government and won't change much for our seniors. So again, I will ask the government, will they take our proposal and use it to ensure our seniors can live in dignity?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
You know what will make a real difference in fighting food insecurity, Mr. Speaker? Ensuring that seniors have the money in their pockets that they need to be able to buy groceries, to be able to buy toilet paper and coffee and these kinds of items over which the government has no control. We are controlling what we can, and that is ensuring that seniors have the money that they need to afford the essentials they need. That is also why we are ensuring that 1 million lower-income Canadians can access the benefits that they're entitled to with automatic tax filing. We are ensuring that older Canadians get the money they need through the essentials.
I can hear the honourable member from Vernon, but maybe we could keep it down. The honourable member for Calgary Signal Hill.
Mr. Speaker, while Liberals talk about elbows up, average Canadians see only the price of groceries up. Food price inflation has doubled since this Prime Minister took office. The percentage of seniors using food banks is up 22% over 5 years, forcing seniors to choose between meals and medication. Conservatives want results. Will the Prime Minister work with us to boost competition in grocery chains and eliminate the industrial carbon tax and the fuel standards tax to bring food prices down?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have spent the last 2 months going on and on talking about food banks, but they really need to listen to them. I was in Edmonton last weekend, and I met with people on the ground at food banks, and they were praising the Prime Minister's announcement and saying what a huge benefit it would be to people actually on the ground in ridings in Alberta, including Conservative ridings. Conservatives should support a benefit that will help 1.3 million Albertans, including those in Conservative ridings. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the grocery inflation crisis is tearing apart families and tearing apart our communities. I received a letter from a senior citizen in Cambridge whose son had to move back home because he couldn't afford the cost of living. He wants to get married, but can't even move out of his mom's home to buy his own, start a family, have children, and be able to feed them. With lettuce up 40%, beef up nearly 30%, and canned vegetables up over 10%, there's simply no money left for anything else in life. This government's been all sizzle and no steak when it comes to food affordability. When will this Liberal government stop with the empty words and start cooking up some real solutions to bring down the price of groceries?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, if the challenge is complex, real leadership meets it with more, not less.
That's right.
That's why when it comes to food inflation, Canada's new government is doing more. We're building long-term solutions to pricing pressures and making sure that Canadians get the real relief that they need right now.
That's right.
We're building stronger, more resilient supply chains and increasing domestic supply and production to ensure that additional costs are not passed on to the consumer. That will take time, Mr. Speaker, but while we're doing that, we're also going to make sure that Canadians get 5 years of support, over $1,890 a month for a family.
The honourable member for Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the finance minister promised to stabilize food prices. He failed. Since then, lettuce is up 40%, beef is up 27%, baby formula is up 14%. Canada has the highest food inflation in the G7. 2.2 million Canadians are visiting food banks every month. Canadians are struggling. We want results. Will the Liberals support our motion for a food affordability plan that removes industrial carbon tax, fuel standard tax, and increases competition in grocery stores? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, they've mentioned beef, they've mentioned coffee, fruits and vegetables. The Bank of Canada has affirmed what we already know. They made clear that import costs are crucial when it comes to food inflation. And which kind of import costs in particular? Climate change, Mr. Speaker. Dramatic weather events around the world and domestically. It's obvious, Mr. Speaker, when you have more flooding, when you have more droughts, it affects food production. It affects the size of livestock as well. Mr. Speaker, let's be serious about the solutions at hand. Let's work together to build up the economy. Canadians expect it. Let's meet this moment right now.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I invite the Liberal government to talk to Canadians to find out how much the cost of living is hurting them. The Minister of Finance promised to stabilize food prices 3 years ago, but his plan did not work. Food inflation has never been higher in Canada. It's twice as high as in the U.S. They need to stop making excuses. And here's the solution from the Conservatives, our affordability plan. Will the Liberal government support it and finally take action to help Canadians? The Honourable Secretary of State. Mr. Speaker, this afternoon we'll be voting at third reading for the Canadian Grocery and Essentials rebate, and I'm really happy we'll be working together for Canadians with this measure. And it will give a family of four $1,800 back, and that is giving them purchasing power and allowing families and not manufacturers or grocery stores. It'll allow families to decide for themselves. That's what Canadians want. They want to have the choice. And thank you for your support. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the Minister of Finance promised to stabilize food prices. Since then, the price of lettuce is up by 40%. Price of coffee is up 34%, and price of beef is up 27%. Mr. Speaker, instead of lowering costs, the Liberals have been putting another Band-Aid on the problem with another temporary rebate. Will the Liberals finally reverse this trend by supporting our Conservative motion, which eliminates the industrial carbon tax, abolishes the fuel standards tax, and strengthens competition in grocery stores? The Honourable Secretary of State. Mr. Speaker, it's fundamental for the choice to be up to Canadians. And it's so important that we're not only working to approve this grocery rebate, but we're also rebuilding our economy to tackle this trade war that we never hear them talk about. So this is a whole system that we're tackling to give back purchasing power to Canadians, and we have to do this together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Got-Acton. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister placed great emphasis on diversifying trade at Davos, and he was right to do so. Yet, he himself is blocking a trade agreement with Taiwan. Taiwan's representatives in Canada have confirmed that all pages of the agreement have been initialed by both parties, and the document is ready and printed in 3 languages. The only thing that's missing is a PM signature, and it's been stuck in his office for 9 months. Is Ottawa abandoning agreement with their reliable partner because they're afraid of their new Chinese friend? The Honourable Minister of Trade. Mr. Speaker, as my colleague has said, the government is determined to extend its trade partnerships across the world, and particularly in the Indo-Pacific. Canada and Taiwan have solid economic ties and tight ties while still being in line with our historic policy of one China, and we will continue to defend Canada's interests by diversifying our trade.
That is wild, man. China and Taiwan hate each other. This government is talking out of both sides of its mouth. The doublespeak is wild.
Taiwan is a reliable partner, a democracy, and a market economy. It's a leader in green tech and AI, among other areas, where fields where trade would benefit Quebec. And it's the 6th largest economy in Asia. It's exactly the type of middle power that Canada should be joining forces with to counter the hegemony of giants, according to the PM's speech at Davos. But yet he himself is blocking the agreement with Taiwan in order to court China. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister doing exactly the opposite of what he said at Davos?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Expanding our partnership around the world, including in the Indo-Pacific, Canada and Taiwan enjoy a strong economic and people-to-people ties consistent with our long-standing One China policy. We will continue to stand up for Canadian interests as we diversify trade and strengthen relationships with reliable trading partners around the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Brant South, Six Nations.
Well, Mr. Speaker, here we go again. This time in Guelph, police warned the community of a high-risk offender with a history of violence and breaching court orders was released after pleading guilty to breaching probation. Wow. Police said he posed a danger, especially to women, but less than 2 hours later, he was arrested again. Wow. This is weak Liberal bail law in action. Once again, the Liberals' principle of restraint put a dangerous offender back on the street. Will the Prime Minister finally take public safety seriously and repeal C5 and 75?
Good question. Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to look at what's in front of us right now as we speak, Mr. Speaker. We have a number of very important legislation that will address just the issue that my friend opposite brought forward. There's Bill C-12 that's going through the Senate, Mr. Speaker. There's Bill C-9. There's Bill C-14, which speaks to bail reform as well as ensuring that there's consecutive sentencing. And there's also Bill C-16. Again, I ask the members opposite to pass this legislation and make sure this becomes law.
Yeah. The Honourable Member for Brant South, Six Nations.
Mr. Speaker, this dangerous release happened for only one reason. Liberal soft on crime laws are still on the books, and this government refuses to repeal them. True. Time after time, Liberal laws put repeat violent offenders back on the street, ignore police warnings, and put Canadians in harm's way. Conservatives, on the other hand, are ready to work with anyone in this House to put public safety first and end these dangerous policies. 100%. Will the Prime Minister finally get serious about public safety and work with us to repeal these laws? Yes or no?
The Justice Committee will be very interesting after this.
Dangerous people who commit serious crimes
Sean
should not
Fraser.
be allowed to roam freely in our streets where they can reoffend. Now, Mr. Speaker.
They made Gary sit down.
The Honourable Minister can start again.
Mr. Speaker, they're going to regret their applause in a moment, I can assure you. And it's because when the member posed the question, he blamed the principle of restraint. Let me tell you something about the principle of restraint. That is the subject of a change in Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, that the Conservatives have been obstructing for months. Despite calls from law enforcement, from provincial governments, from municipalities, from experts in their field, they have been getting in the way.
This is supposed to be an exchange of ideas. The minister may continue with his answer.
Mr. Speaker, after months and months of obstructing bail reform in this country, we've finally seen a spirit of collaboration. My only hope is a spirit that their leader seemed to embody during his opening remarks at this session will be what carries the day instead of the nonsense we're seeing today in the House.
The Honourable Member for Central Newfoundland.
On January 22,
27th, Charlottetown police responded to a violent home invasion involving assault, an imitation firearm, and chemical irritant. 2 individuals known to the victims were arrested. One of the accused is facing multiple charges, including, with no surprise, failure to comply with conditions of release and probation. The Liberal soft-on-crime principle of restraint continues to put dangerous offenders back on the street. So will this government repeal C5 and C75 so that Canadians can once again feel safe in their home?
The Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, since taking government, we've had a tough on-crime agenda.
Right.
We have 6 different bills going through this House right now that are all tackling the situations that the member has been mentioning. It's been 8 months since we put in place C2, and we've been waiting on the Conservatives for their cooperation to pass lawful access measures, which would help police in their investigations. We've been asking for help on cracking down on fentanyl, Mr. Speaker, and tackling organized crime. But they've been stalling and they've been obstructing all along. I hope they'll get on board and work with us.
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Last week, a man in Woodbridge was gunned down in broad daylight. This week, a home in Vaughan was targeted for a shooting for the 4th time in 5 months. Now, the York Region Police Chief has said they will not participate in the federal Liberal government's gun grab because it does not address the underlying sources of gun crime. Most provinces and territories have opted out. Dozens of police services have now refused to participate. So, with little support from the police and provinces, will the Liberal government finally end this ideologically driven scheme and focus on stopping illegal guns and repeat violent offenders?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, last week when the Prime Minister met with First Ministers across Canada, all 13 of them unanimously asked for this House to pass Bill C-14, Mr. Speaker. The party opposite is talking about tough on crime, but they refuse to pass the legislation that's required for bail reform. That's going to make consecutive sentences. That's going to ensure the safety and security of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Enough talk and we need action, Mr. Speaker. I urge the party opposite to pass Bill C-14.
Honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, while violent crime and extortion continue to rise across Canada, this government keeps targeting law-abiding Canadians instead of criminals. Most provinces and territories have told the government they will not participate in the Liberal gun buyback. In Newfoundland and Labrador, the Premier has been clear. The Liberals, and I quote, should focus on criminals, not law-abiding hunters and our way of life. Dozens of police services have said they will not help carry out this program. Even the minister responsible admitted in private this was a bad idea. Will the Liberals end this wasteful scheme, stop the gun grab that punishes law-abiding Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, like I said before, when it comes to food inflation as well, responsible governments do more. That is why we're also seeing an uptake and people wanting to surrender their prohibited weapons. Over 22,000 people have signed up to get their guns out of our communities. That's progress, Mr. Speaker, but also in addition to that, we've put major investments into our borders to catch illegal guns and get them off our streets. We've also put forward measures in our legislation to help the police catch criminals and help them with their investigations. But the Conservatives have been obstructing all of those measures, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask them to allow C2 to come to a vote.
The Honourable Member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, from rank-and-file officers to police chiefs, law enforcement from across Canada has asked Parliament to quickly pass Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, to better address repeat violent offenders. From my own community of Brampton, Mayor Patrick Brown and Peel Regional Police commend the government for their work for listening to our communities. Can the Minister of Justice explain how Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, delivers on those requests and protects communities?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for her question and for her advocacy for stronger criminal laws to help protect her community. The reason that members of her community are commending this bill is because they see the feedback that they provided in the process reflected in the text of the bill. It was through feedback from law enforcement that we figured out how to best deal with violent repeat criminals when bail hearings come up. It was through engagement with provincial governments we better understood how we can improve the process of bail hearings and sentencing. I want to thank in particular Mayor Patrick Brown for his advocacy for tougher criminal laws. By working together with provinces, with municipalities and law enforcement, we can build safer communities for every Canadian.
Very good. The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Canada's economy is on life support and the country is in recession watch, Mr. Speaker. That is the international headlines in Bloomberg. GDP per capita was essentially flat in 2025, and the Bank of Canada expects just 1.1% growth next year. Businesses are postponing expansion, investment is forecast to be weak, and this is very bad news for Canada's jobs. We need a significant transformational plan, but none appears in this legislative agenda from this government. When will they introduce a plan to keep Canadians out of a recession, Mr. Speaker?
Le ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of time and respect for my colleague, but she's not referring to all the important data, because the data shows that there's been increase in wages year over year, 3.4%, while the inflation was at 2.4%. So basically, wages are increasing more than inflation. And at the same time, in December, the Bank of Canada maintained its interest rates to 2.25%, and the governor mentioned that the economy was proving resilient. We have created 189,000 jobs more than the U.S., Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
The bottom line is, Mr. Speaker, the threat of a recession is real, and nothing this government has done is going to address the economic issues we're facing. StatsCan reports manufacturing is being deeply impacted. In November alone, GDP fell 12.6% in the auto sector. That's thousands of layoffs already. Without significant action to grow the economy and protect Canadian jobs, Canada could very well fall into a recession. Conservatives have proposed lower taxes, removing barriers so that we can grow faster than ever, and cutting red tape. So when will the government see a real plan to ward off recession and protect Canadian jobs from this government?
We're already in one.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians can't cast that Conservative leader's slogans. Last week, we announced a Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we have a leader with world-class business and economic experience. Their leaders never had a job in the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for York-Durham.
Economists said yesterday that the Canadian economy is on life support. And while the Liberals may clap like trained seals for lower rates, those lower rates are not resulting in more growth. Respectfully, a GST rebate will not revive this patient. The emissions cap, the shipping ban, and other anti-development laws are binding the hands of Canadians that would build our country. So why won't the Prime Minister have the courage to stand up and remove them?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister
Mr. Speaker, let me offer some good news. The CER just announced the Gordon to Taylorville pipeline is being built. The CER just announced support for the Sunrise pipeline. The pipe mill in Regina is opening to build pipe again. We are building Canada strong.
The honourable member for York-Durham.
The minister enjoys illusions because the Major Projects Office has not given approval to one project yet. Instead, let me give him some other news. BNN Bloomberg reported that my home province of Ontario is the sick man of Canada, with lower standards of living than anywhere else in the country. In fact, by every objective measure, Ontario is doing worse now than it did when the Prime Minister was elected. And that is increasingly because they cannot get a deal with the United States. That's a serious question, and it deserves a serious answer. Prime Minister, why is there no plan to deal with the U.S.?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I'll invite the member opposite to come to Darlington, where we're building the first SMRs in the G7, creating thousands of jobs, thousands of jobs, thousands of jobs. We are a leader. We are building Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for York Centre.
New research
from Rosenberg says Canada's economy is on life support. Per capita GDP is falling, construction's flat, and the economy may shrink by 0.5%. Food inflation is out of control, and billions of dollars are fleeing south. Because of these Liberals, Canada is now on a recession watch. Conservatives are ready to work with the government to repeal anti-development laws to get our economy going. So will the Prime Minister work with us to build big and build quickly, or will his legacy be one of the worst economies in recent history?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I call on Conservatives, yes, to work with us, and we can work together for the betterment of this country, Mr. Speaker. What did we see yesterday? If they don't want to listen to Liberals, that's fine. They should listen to Prime Minister Harper, who called on us in a moment of crisis, a moment of rupture for this country, to do what's right for Canada. We have an opportunity. We saw the Conservatives support the Essentials benefit. Will they support now the budget that can support his community and mine and all of ours? It's up to them. What are we going to do?
Honourable member for York Centre.
Almost a year since the election, the Prime Minister should be judged not by his words, but by his actions. He didn't get a trade deal. He doubled the deficit. No new pipelines approved. Interprovincial trade barriers remain. We have the highest food inflation in the G7 with 2.2 million Canadians at the food bank. We need to start building pipelines and sell Canadian energy.
Hear, hear.
So will the Prime Minister work with us to repeal Liberal anti-development laws, or will Canadians continue to suffer a Liberal economy that is on life support?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a plan in front of this House to create $1 trillion of investment in Canada. There's a plan before this House to continue to build the kind of infrastructure that my colleague just referred to. There's a plan before this House that would deregulate, that would free up, that would invest, that would make Canada the most attractive tax investment destination in the world. It's called the Budget Implementation Act. If we bring that bill today, will that party support it? Yes or no?
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent, Kiwanrock. Mr. Speaker, the prestigious firm Bloomberg has said very clearly that the Canadian economy is on life support and that the country is in recession. That's Bloomberg saying that. In one of the articles, it says that on households...
Yeah, you guys have said it like 7 times now. We get it.
...remain stagnant. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve better. We are ready to work with the government in order...
The Conservatives really need to limit the question to like 2 or 3 MPs. Because they're all just asking the same thing. And they are not getting an answer every time. Like, they need to mix it up a bit here. Like, come on, guys.
Improve the economy in order to ensure that we are a country with historic foreign investment and domestic investment, in order to create a more resilient and stronger economy, to create jobs in all professions across Canada. I look forward to that support from our colleagues, and I would encourage our colleagues to support the Budget Implementation Act, because that is the plan that my colleague just described. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent, Mr. Speaker, Canadians want actual results. They are impatient. These people have been in power for 10 years, but meanwhile, the economy has gotten worse. That's the reality. Food inflation is affecting all Canadian families. We have the worst food inflation in the G7. The minister knows that. He should be ashamed. The Bank of Canada has stated that businesses are delaying their expansion plans, and investment will be low. When will this government take concrete measures and lead to real good results for Canadian families? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, as my colleague knows very well, we have a plan, and that plan is called the Budget Implementation Act. For too long, we've been seeing obstruction from the other side, from the Conservatives. During this difficult time, where we know that geopolitics are going through a difficult period, we know that Canadians throughout the country are facing financial difficulties. They expect us to work together. Will the Conservatives vote in favor of the budget? Yes or no? The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that Canada would see the strongest growth in the G7. 1 year later, nothing has been done to reduce red tape, and no anti-development laws have been repealed. On the contrary, the obstacles are only getting worse. According to Bloomberg, the Canadian economy is now in
Here we
recession,
go.
and people can feel that. Will the Prime Minister finally bring in a plan which will enable Canadians to build, invest, and work? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, what people in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean and elsewhere in Quebec and Canada want is a plan, an economic plan, the Prime Minister's plan, the plan they voted for, the plan that is currently before
this plan failed.
House. The Conservatives are constantly blocking this Prime Minister's economic plan. We are urging them to cooperate with us. We succeeded with C-19. We can help Canadians. And we are urging them to pass Bill C-15 and the Budget Implementation Act, the Prime Minister's plan to build Canada. The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, February is Black History Month, which is an opportunity to pay tribute to the Black Canadians who have built our country and shaped our future. This is the 30th anniversary of the official recognition of Black History Month, and the theme is honoring Black brilliance across generations, from nation builders to tomorrow's visionaries. Can the Minister tell the House why it is important every February to celebrate Black History Month and how the government is promoting it throughout the country? The Honourable Minister of Identity and Culture. Well, first of all, I would just like to state that the member herself, who was elected in Terrebonne and has made history herself by becoming the youngest Black MP in the history of Canada. That is a remarkable accomplishment. As she eloquently said, this year we are once again celebrating Black excellence, Black community. We are supporting 85 initiatives to fight racism and support the Black community. Black history is Canada's history.
Member for Foothills.
It is wild to hear the Foreign Affairs Minister claim that they support science when the Liberals are literally attacking agricultural research. They are shutting down research centres in Lacombe, Indian Head, Guelph, Quebec City, Portage-la-Prairie, and Cumberland County. Meanwhile, they spend $19 billion on consultants, $33 million on a prison farm, $22 million on beans for women for empowerment in Congo. Why is the Prime Minister dismantling the foundation of Canadian food security just to fund his foreign virtue signaling?
Right on.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear. Science plays an integral role and will continue to play an integral role in this country for agriculture and agri-food. Mr. Speaker, we are maintaining our research and development presence in every single province, and the department continues to be the largest science service center in this country with 17 sites.
That's right.
By streamlining our research, we are prioritizing high-impact areas, reducing duplication, and better aligning our needs with our ranchers and farmers across this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Not maintaining their cutting and shutting. Workers at the Indian Head Agricultural Research Farm are the latest to lose their jobs thanks to this Liberal government. This research centre provides cutting-edge innovation on soil management, crop varieties, and disease and pest resiliency. It provides jobs for Canadian scientists, improves Canadian crop production to the benefit of Canadian farmers. Meanwhile, the Liberals have sent hundreds of millions of Canadian tax dollars overseas for stupid, ideologically driven pet projects like $8 million for gender-just rice farming in Vietnam. Instead of closing Canadian research centres that benefit Canadians, why not stop the phony foreign aid project?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture, the Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if that member's memory serves him correct, but I'll go back to 2011 and 2012. That may jog his memory a little bit. A focused agriculture research presence should move away from scattered, soiled research, siloed projects and toward a mission-driven, outcome-oriented system that treats food production as a cornerstone of national security economic resilience, and climate adaptation. This is what we're hearing from our stakeholders. We're going to move agriculture forward, and we're going to make science and research a big part of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Ponoka-Dinsbury.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have repeatedly told Canadians to trust the science, but now they're firing the very scientists who help feed Canadians. The government is shutting down 7 agriculture research centres across Canada, including the storied one in Lacombe. Meanwhile, the Liberals will waste $742 million on a gun grab that police say will do nothing. $742 million would keep the Lacombe Research Station open for 40 years. With 2.2 million Canadians lining up at the food bank every month, why is this government so hell-bent on wasting cash on programs that experts say will not work and killing the programs that the experts say will?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Mr. Speaker, from talking to stakeholders across this country, we have a real opportunity to even advance our research, and we'll continue to do that. The department continues to be the largest agriculture research in Canada, but this opportunity for transformation in the research sector is most prominent in our agriculture and agri-food divisions, Mr. Speaker. We're going to continue to invest in agriculture and agri-research, partner with our academias, talk to our stakeholders, and move forward with the best science in the world as we have today.
That's great. The Honourable member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, residents in my riding of Carleton want to know what this government is doing to improve affordability. There is good news, Mr. Speaker. Can the Secretary of...
Wait. The member is attracting all kinds of extraneous noise there. Maybe we'll let the member start from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Residents of my riding of Carleton are looking for serious leadership. They're also wanting to see what this government is doing to improve affordability in this country. There's good news, Mr.
Can't hear a thing. Can't hear a thing. I wanted to get out of here early today. Okay, we'll try again. We're making progress. The Honourable member for Carleton from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. This is why Conservatives keep losing. Residents in Carleton want to know what this government is doing to improve the affordability of food. There is good news, Mr. Speaker. Can the Secretary of State for CRA and financial institutions please inform this House of important measures the government is taking to improve affordability for Canadians?
The Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, it's so nice to finally see real representation in Carleton. Conservative slogans don't feed families. That's why we cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the consumer carbon tax, and last week...
And he goes right to slogans himself.
...benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. It's time for that party, that leader, to stop the rhetoric, stop the slogans, and join us to build Canada strong. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Swift Current Grasslands Kindersley.
Speaker, the Prime Minister has admitted that a country that cannot feed itself has few options. However, this Liberal government's closing 7 agriculture research facilities. The research and development has a 35-to-1 return on investment for taxpayers. It's also crucial for growing crops to feed Canada and the rest of the world, despite our harsh climate. With 2.2 million Canadians lining up at food banks every month, does the Prime Minister seriously think that it's a good idea to cut valuable research into how we can grow more food here in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Mr. Speaker, we've heard when I've traveled around the country, I've heard many times that we can do better in research and development. We'll continue to build on that, Mr. Speaker. We'll listen to the professionals in this regard, Mr. Speaker. We're not going to go down the path, Mr. Speaker, of not having science in this country. It's extremely important to our trade, Mr. Speaker. It's extremely important to our agriculture and agri-food communities, and we're going to continue to build on that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
successive Liberal and Conservative governments have bungled fighter jet procurement for decades. Now, with Donald Trump threatening Canada's sovereignty and our NATO allies, New Democrats call on the Prime Minister to cancel all F-35 contracts and commit to purchasing the Swedish Saab Gripen. The Prime Minister promised to make Canada less reliant on American military. Will the Prime Minister make the switch, or does his Davos speech mean nothing?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, as part of our generational investments in the Canadian Armed Forces, we are procuring a new fleet of fighter aircraft for the Royal Canadian Air Force. We review all procurement approaches to align with the best interests of Canadians and the needs of the Canadian Armed Forces. We are committed to procuring what the Air Force needs while ensuring economic benefits for Canadians. And that is exactly what we'll do.
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Kelly Green, Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness of British Columbia. It being 3:14, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Berthold relating to the business of supply. Call in the members.
All right, we got a vote. I'm not sure if this one will pass. It's a second reading, so it most likely will. There was another one that's most likely going to pass as well because it's going to go into a third reading. I guess we'll see what happens, though. There's the possibility. Oh, this is an opposition motion. It probably won't pass then. Never mind, actually. Thought that was a liberal one because the Conservatives have already claimed they're willing to work with the Liberals to pass one of their motions. But if it's a Conservative motion, no, it's not going to.
La question est la suivante.
The question is as follows. Mr. Berthold, seconded by Mr. Aboul Taif, moved that, given that the finance minister promised in October 2023 that food prices would stabilize soon, and that the Prime Minister stated in May 2025 that he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store, and that, 1.
No dispensing. Les Canadiens subissent la plus forte.
Canadians face the highest food inflation in the G7. 2. Food inflation is twice as high as it was when the Prime Minister took office.
Yeah,
3.
this won't pass.
Food inflation in Canada is twice as high as it is in the United States. 4. Canadians have made 2.2 visits a month to food banks.
5.
5. Food bank use has more than doubled since the Liberals took power.
La Chambre demande.
The House call on the government to immediately introduce a food affordability plan that A. Removes the Liberals' hidden taxes on food, including...
We're going to be disbanded. I don't think there's agreement to disband. Éliminerait les taxes cachées des libéraux sur les aliments, y compris
1. The industrial carbon tax on farm equipment, fertilizer, and food processors that drives up the cost of producing food and are passed on to consumers. 2. The fuel standards tax, which is 7 cents a liter and rising to 17 cents a liter on farmers, truckers, and those who bring us our food.
Jusqu'à 17 cents par litre.
3. The food packaging tax that will cost Canadians $1.3 billion, and B. Boost competition in our overly concentrated grocery sector.
The 10-minute period for members voting electronically has started, and the House will now proceed to the vote for members participating in person. All those in favor of the motion will please rise.
Mr. Doherty.
Mr. Doherty.
Mr. Schmale.
Mr. Schmale.
Mr. Brock.
Mr. Brock.
Mr. Bazan.
Mr. Bazan.
Mrs. Block.
Mrs. Block.
Mrs. Thomas.
Mrs. Thomas.
Mr. Dedtel.
Mr. Deltel.
Mr. Paulus.
Mr. Paulus.
Ms. Lewis Haldeman Norfolk.
Ms. Lewis Haldeman Norfolk.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Small.
Mr. Small.
Mr. Mazer.
Mr. Mazer.
Mr. Straw.
Mr. Straw.
Mr. Jennis.
Mr. Jennis.
Mr. Brassard.
Mr. Brassard.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Berthold.
Mr. Berthold.
Mr. Workington.
Mr. Workington.
Mr. Canna.
Mr. Canna.
Mrs. Roberts.
Mrs. Roberts.
Mr. Morin.
Mr. Morin.
Mr. Ross.
Mr. Ross.
Madame Vien.
Madame Vien.
Monsieur Godin.
Monsieur Godin.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Van Popta.
Mr. Van Popta.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Genereux.
Mr. Genereux.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Steinley.
Mr. Steinley.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. Zinner.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Davidson.
Mr. Davidson.
Mr. Mazer.
Mr. Muse.
Mr. Muse, pardon me.
Mr. Muse.
Mr. Waugh.
Mr. Waugh.
Ms. Rude.
Ms. Rude.
Mr. Ho.
Mr. Ho.
Mrs. Falk, Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mrs. Falk, Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Majumdar.
Mr. Majumdar.
Mrs. Goodrich.
Mrs. Goodrich.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Bragdon.
Mr. Bragdon.
Mr. Morrison.
Mr. Morrison.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Mallette, Kapuskasing, Timmins, Mushkegawak.
Mr. Mallette, Kapuskasing, Timmins, Mushkegawak.
Monsieur Lefebvre.
Monsieur Lefebvre.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mr. Hoback.
Mr. Hoback.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Diot.
Mr. Diot.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. Falk Provencher.
Mr. Falk Provencher.
Mr. Epp.
Mr. Epp.
Mr. Macaulay.
Mr. Macaulay.
Mr. Menegakis.
Mr. Menegakis.
Mrs. Wagenthal.
Mrs. Wagenthal.
Mrs. Jansen.
Mrs. Jansen.
Mr. Abouteif.
Mr. Abouteif.
Mr. Motz.
Mr. Motz.
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Dowdle.
Mr. Dowdle.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Tolmie.
Mr. Tolmie.
Mr. McLean, Calgary Centre.
Mr. McLean, Calgary Centre.
Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mrs. Anstey.
Mrs. Anstey.
Mr. Ow.
Mr. Ow.
Mr. Babber.
Mr. Babber.
Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Bélanger, Sudbury S, Manitoulin, Nickelbelt.
Mr. Bélanger, Sudbury S, Manitoulin, Nickelbelt.
Mr. Bexty.
Mr. Bexty.
Mr. Bonk.
Mr. Bonk.
Ms. Kobania.
Ms. Kobania.
Ms. Cody.
Ms. Cody.
Mr. Davies, Vancouver, Niagara South.
Mr. Davies, Niagara South.
Mr. Dawson.
Mr. Dawson.
Ms. DeRitter.
Mrs. DeRitter.
Mr. Gill, Brampton West.
Mr. Gill, Brampton West.
Mr. Gill, Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Gill, Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Gill, Windsor West.
Mr. Gill, Windsor West.
Mr. Comich.
Mr. Comich.
Mr. Nader.
Mr. Nader.
Mr. Groslo.
Mr. Groslo.
Mr. Guglielmin.
Mr. Gugnian.
Mr. Gunn.
Mr. Gunn.
Mr. Halsey.
Mr. Hardy.
Mr. Holman.
Mr. Holman.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Kibble.
Mr. Kibble.
Mrs. Kirkland.
Mrs. Kirkland.
Mrs. Conans.
Mrs. Conan.
Mr. Ruff.
Mr. Ruff.
Ms. Cronus.
Ms. Cronus.
Mr. Curick.
Mr. Curick.
Mr. Lawton.
Mr. Lawton.
Mr. Mantle.
Mr. Mantle.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. Reynolds.
Mr. Reynolds.
Mr. Rowe.
Mr. Rowe.
Mr. Stevenson.
Mr. Stevenson.
Mr. Strauss.
Mr. Strauss.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
McKinnon-Gatineau.
Mr. McKinnon-Gatineau.
Mr. Ali.
Mr. Ali.
Mr. McDonald-Malpeck.
Mr. McDonald-Malpeck.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. Robertson.
Mr. Robertson.
Ms. DeBruson.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody else voted yes. It's going to not pass at all here. And if the Liberals propose their GST rebate, $10 a month or whatever the hell they're giving, like I said, the Conservatives already claimed they're going to support that. So that is going to do it for myself today.
Mr. Bélanger
Head on
said,
over to Canadian Capital Clips if he's still alive. I'm sure he'll be covering this. But that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you are from. Thank you for joining on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. Shout out.
Ms. Jasic.
Ms. Jasic.
Mr. Beach.
Mr. Beach.
Ms. Scrow.
Ms. Scrow.
Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Dollywall.
Mr. Dollywall.
Mrs. Romanato.
Mrs. Romanato.
Mr. Lewis